Tonight we have Sister Miriam James from the Society of Our Lady, the Most Holy Trinity. Holy Trinity, right?
Holy, yeah.
Right. Can you talk about holiness? I know we spoke about that earlier. That places a call on us. We all have that mission to become holy. We're attracted to the holiness of God. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that in religious life?
I think it's interesting in religious life because a lot of times we come to religious life with kind of a preconceived idea of holiness. I know mine was, I had read a lot of saint books that they didn't have any faults and they had no opinions and were very quiet. And I mean, I tried that for a while. It didn't really work for me. I was like well.
5 minutes?
The quiet or the opinion?
Both. Neither worked for me. And so I really had to find out what does it really mean to be holy. And so that journey of finding out who I really am as a person. And I think for me, I mean, holiness obviously is becoming like Christ, but it's also allowing ourselves to become the people that God's created us to be. Not who we think we should be or who other people say we should be, but who God has destined us to be, to allow that person to come forth and to serve. And that's a way we can be Christ to other people. And so in my work with the novices, that's one thing I want to impart to them, that they don't have to be a carbon copy of another saint that they read about. And so we emulate the good things of the saints, but we also incorporate them into the particular path that God has for us. Because it's really an error to say, well, I've had this stuff happen to me in my life. There's no way I could be a saint, or, you look at religious, there's no way, the things I've done, there's no way I could be a nun or a priest or even a holy married person. There's no way I would struggle with this or that. That is untrue. God can heal anything, and he works through anything, and he wants us as we are, not some facade or some kind of image of what we think we should be.
And a great part of your story that I think resonates in the culture so much today is that you had to be healed, and you had a real human formation to go through. You speak of a brokenness you had. So it's not just some kind of discontinuity to this life of grace, but that grace was operating in your humanity to heal and to recover. Could you talk about that work? What was key to that kind of healing for you?
Well, I had to really get honest with myself, and I had to finally look at the things in my life that had happened to me or things that I had done that I didn't want to look at anymore. And I really believe in, obviously the healing aspect of the sacraments of confession and the Eucharist, that's indispensable. Jesus is the divine physician. But also going out and finding healing, or going to counseling, or talking with people that I can trust, reading books, going on retreats. One thing I really felt that just saved my life and saved my vocation is John Paul II's work on theology of the body. That just rocked my world, and it still does to this day. I'll never be finished studying that. And so learning about who I'm really called to be, not this kind of distorted image or what society says I should be, but learning what is God's plan for me, and going through that healing. And healing is hard work. Discipleship is hard work. Conversion is hard work, and it's a daily thing. Nobody ever gets to the mount where they kind of sit there and gaze upon the world.
Right.
It's always a work in. If you're honest, it's a work in progress every day. So.
And God's calling us to conversion. He's calling us to change, right? And sometimes that change is difficult. When I was asking you about the theology of the body earlier, you just rattled off some great things that the Pope brings out, like from the teaching on Genesis and the Gospel. But that destiny, that image of God that we're made in, and that really spoke to your heart, about what we're called to be. What's God's plan, his divine plan? Can you talk about some of those elements again?
Sure. The one thing that I really just fell in love with in his work on theology of the body is his discussion on Genesis, when God creates Adam and Eve. And that just the discussion of masculinity and femininity, and learning there what it really means to be a woman. Because I was so full of all these erroneous things of what it means to be a woman. I bought into what the society says, what the media says means that you're a woman if you look like this or you do this. But to go to that and to continually drink from that of what God says, what it means to be truly feminine, or for men to be truly masculine. And from that authentic life, how will I give myself in love? Not will I, but how will I give myself in love? We're meant to be a gift given in love, and to receive others as a gift. And so that I just absolutely love that particular aspect of when he's speaking of the creation of Adam and Eve in the garden.
You spoke to me earlier about, we are the result of a deliberate, you could say, choice of God. He, at the moment of conception, right, he creates the human soul. You're willed into existence directly by God.
Yes,
right?
we are.
He wants you to exist.
He does. There's no such thing really as an unplanned pregnancy, unplanned for us because we don't know what we're doing, but for God, there's no such thing. God's not like, oh, what am I going to do now? He knows exactly what he's doing, and everybody that's ever been conceived is meant to be here and will never be recreated or recycled. I mean, just to even fathom that for a second, that nobody will ever be recreated or recycled from the beginning to the end of time. I mean, that is just monumental to even consider, that we're all destined to be here and that we're alive right now in this moment, this crucial moment in history to do something great for God. We have a divine plan.
Right. Unique, unrepeatable.
Unique, precious, and unrepeatable. Completely.
What about the role of beauty? That comes up in your articles and things. How does that speak to you about the church's teaching on beauty?
It's really an amazing work, because we as women, we do have the gift of beauty, and that there's always a question deep in the heart of every woman of, am I beautiful? Am I beautiful? And we see that even in our daycare. We have princess dress up. Okay, so don't get between like 5-year-olds and princess dress up. You know what I'm saying? They'll just like mow you over. I'm sure you can relate.
I'm sucking